Welcome to this explainer. When we think of medicine today, our minds usually jump straight to clinical trials, chemical compounds, and sterile white labs, right? But what if I told you there's an entire medical system built completely on an ancient, deeply philosophical framework? Today, we're breaking down how traditional Chinese medicine, or TCM, isn't just a random collection of herbal remedies. It's actually a living, breathing philosophy applied directly to human health. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start with the roots of Chinese medicine, and then we'll explore three ancient pillars of thought: Confucianism and internal harmony, Taoism, nature and qi, and finally, Buddhism and the mind. Then we'll wrap it all up with a holistic synthesis. Section 1. Roots of Chinese medicine, a melting pot of ideas. To really understand TCM, we have to kind of shift our modern perspective for a minute. It's not merely a set of clinical practices. It evolved over centuries as this incredibly rich, fascinating blend of philosophies. Looking at early Chinese civilization, you see the very origins of Taoist thought starting to take shape. And that eventually evolved into a highly turbulent era known as the Warring States period, which brought about massive philosophical debate. We call this the 100 Schools of Thought. Later on, the Silk Road era sparked a huge exchange of ideas, including the arrival of Buddhism all the way from India. And that exchange profoundly enriched China's entire medical heritage. Let's actually pause on that Warring States era for a second, because it birthed the 100 Schools of Thought. Out of this intense, chaotic period of intellectual debate, a sort of survival of the fittest occurred. Ultimately, three major teachings emerged victorious from all that noise, and these three surviving philosophies became the absolute bedrock for TCM's approach to wellness. So let's look at the very first pillar. Section 2, Confucianism and internal harmony, society mirrored in the body. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how rules that were originally meant for an entire society get applied directly to physical health. See, Confucianism is all about social harmony. Its core belief is that a functional society absolutely requires a well-structured hierarchical system. It places a massive emphasis on ethical conduct, precise social roles, and clearly defined mutual obligations. But you might be wondering, how exactly does being a good citizen cure a fever or stomachache? Well, the concept relies entirely on mirroring. The Confucian need for order and structure in society, defined roles and respect for rituals, translates perfectly into the need for balance and mutual respect between the body's internal systems. In TCM, your organs are literally viewed like citizens in a state. If the liver isn't cooperating and fulfilling its specific obligations to the stomach, the overall harmony is broken, and sickness takes over. Disease is, quite simply, a breakdown in internal social order. Section 3. Taoism, nature, and qi, aligning with the universe. So we just looked at human society, but now we shift our focus to the massive universe around us. Taoism forms the absolute cornerstone of preventative medicine in TCM, and it rests on three core steps. First, maintaining harmony with the natural rhythms of the universe. Second, keeping that delicate balance of yin and yang. Medically speaking, these are the opposing forces within your body. Think hot and cold, active and passive, dry and damp. And third, maintaining the smooth flow of qi, which is your vital life energy. Basically, Taoism teaches that simplicity and natural alignment keep all these forces running smoothly. The ultimate goal here is adhering to the Tao, the path, or the way of nature. Sages like Lao Tzu and Chuang Tzu were incredibly influential in this area. And the crazy thing is, they didn't just want to cure a common cough. They were focused on longevity and even the literal physical pursuit of immortality through Taoist alchemy. They firmly believed that aligning perfectly with the natural order of the world was the ultimate armor against disease. It's what allows you to maintain perfect balance in both body and mind. Section 4. Buddhism and the mind, the Silk Road import. Let's move to and see how this builds with our final philosophical pillar, which actually has a fascinating story of cross-cultural exchange. Buddhism arrived in China via the Silk Road, bringing invaluable medical knowledge with it. Its main focus? Transcending the temporal suffering in life. Now, while Buddhist ideas might be a little less prominent in the overarching structure of TCM compared to, say, Taoism or Confucianism, they brought a critical missing piece: a profound insight into the interconnectedness of the mind and body. Buddhism introduced this radical idea that you literally cannot alleviate physical suffering without also deeply addressing mental and emotional distress. And this brilliantly illustrates that Buddhist influence, the practice of Qigong. This practice can actually be traced all the way back to a Buddhist monk. It seamlessly combines physical exercises, mental cultivation, and breath control. It's the perfect proof that the mind, the body, and the breath aren't just separate, isolated functions. They are integral, closely linked components of holistic well-being. Section 5, the holistic synthesis, uniting the three pillars. So the crucial point is how all of this comes together. This is where we see these three completely distinct schools of ancient thought merge into one single, comprehensive medical framework. Each philosophy provides a unique building block for the whole system. Confucianism looks at society and order, giving TCM its framework for bodily balance. Taoism looks at nature and the Tao, providing those vital principles of Yin Yang and Qi flow. And Buddhism looks at the mind and alleviating suffering, contributing a deep understanding of connected health. It's like a giant puzzle, and each philosophy fills in a crucial piece of the human experience. When you combine all of that together, you get the true definition of holistic as it applies to TCM. It is the comprehensive integration of the physical, mental, and spiritual aspects of health. Really grasping this dynamic interplay is your key takeaway today. It explains perfectly why TCM isn't just some reactive medicine you swallow when you feel sick. It's a proactive, enduring way of living. It requires constant, mindful maintenance of order, nature, and the mind. So, I want to leave you with a question to ponder today. How can you apply this ancient balance of physical order, natural harmony, and mental calm to your modern life? Think about it. How might the wisdom of these ancient schools of thought help you find just a bit more balance tomorrow? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.